Always choose.
We ask the questions.
What is needed in the world?
Is that going to
Cyprus has long had an important geopolitical position in the Mediterranean, but it's been at the center of an ethnic dispute since 1974, which has divided the island. The Republic of Cyprus is controlled by Greek Cypriots and is recognized by the international community. In fact, it became a member of the European Union in 2004. The northern part of the island is ruled by the government of the self-declared Northern Cyprus. It's recognized by Turkey and guarded by its armed forces. The conflict has gone through many ups and downs, but things escalated recently when the Turkish Navy blocked access to an Italian drill ship in February. The vessel was part of efforts to explore recently discovered gas fields on the southeastern tip of the island. The heads of the EU backed the Greek Cypriot leader Nikos Anastasiades. The European Commission's President Jean-Claude Juncker said he was strictly against the behavior of Turkey. Turkish President Erdogan issued a warning to Cyprus and foreign companies, though, not to infringe on what he calls Turkey's sovereignty. Where do things go from here, and is diplomacy the only way forward? I'm Sami Zaidan at the Presidential Palace in Nicosia. This week, President Anastasiades tells me he's ready to jump out of our television interview and begin peace talks if the Turkish Cypriot leader calls him. He also confirms US energy giant Exxon Mobil is on track to start exploration in the eastern Mediterranean Sea. And he says he's confident the US knows how to protect its interests. Nikos Anastasiades, President of the Republic of Cyprus, talks to Al Jazeera. President Anastasiades, thank you so much for talking to Al Jazeera. The Cyprus conflict is one of the longest, one of the most frozen in history. When will reunification talks begin? When will you resume talks?
I'm always ready to continue the deliberations from the stage they have been left during the Grand Montana Conference.
So what your foreign minister said, though...
If you will allow me, what we need, it's a much better preparation before going to such a conference. Every time we are failing to reach a settlement, the disappointment of the people and the mistrust are increasing.
I want to clarify something. So what your foreign minister recently said, that there can be no talks until the Turkish side, as he sees it, stops blocking exploration in Cypriot waters. That is no longer a precondition to you resuming talks?
No, it is always. It's not a precondition. It's a matter of respecting the international law. You could not expect from a government to continue the talks or to accept to start a new round of negotiations when the other side is putting a precondition that before starting, you have to accept that the exploration, or whatever policy we are following as regards the hydrocarbons, we have to decide together. We have to agree that an ad hoc committee will decide as regards licensing, as regards with whom we have to whom we have to sell, and all these kind of things.
Okay, but if Mustafa Akinci, the Turkish Cypriot leader, if he calls you today and says, let's have talks, would you accept? Given the status quo.
I will leave the interview and attend the meeting.
Okay. I understand you've actually extended a dinner invitation to him. Has he accepted? Is there a date for the two of you to have dinner?
He's saying that he has accepted it, but we are waiting to...
So there's no date for it?
Before 20 or so many days, 25 days, I have conveyed the message that I'm ready to meet at any given moment with Mr. Akinci in order at least to have a talk, to see where we are standing, what we are planning for the future, where we are going. The unacceptable status quo for both communities is going to continue, or we have to sit with, decisiveness to see how we can proceed further.
Okay, so why don't, if you're willing to talk...
And unfortunately, since then, I haven't received a clear answer when.
So everything is pending Mr. Akinci's answer for a date?
He's ready to
Well, this is the baffling thing. You say you're ready, he says he's ready. So where is the problem in the talks?
I don't know, because when I'm saying I'm ready, I mean it.
Right.
The other side is saying in due course.
So you're basically waiting on a date from them?
Yeah, it is quite clear. I conveyed the message 2 times through Elizabeth Specher, the special advisor of the Secretary General, as well as with the Undersecretary.
Tell us, since the collapse of the talks in Switzerland last year, you did mention now that there has to be better preparation. What exactly does that mean? How would the agenda of talks be different now from your perspective?
I will explain to you. During the Grand Mandana, the Secretary General of the United Nations put his framework. The framework was including 6 issues: the issue of security and guarantees, the termination, actually, of the obsolete system of security and guarantees, the withdrawal of troops, or a proposal to see how to face the withdrawal and the rapid reduction and so on.
You're talking about Turkish troops in
Always.
Cyprus, just to clarify for our viewers.
Yes. And then there were 4 other issues referring to the internal matters we are discussing. For example, the property issue, the territorial readjustments, the effective participation, and the demand by Turkey for equitable treatment between Greeks and Turks nationals. So this is the, if you want, the basket of the issues the Secretary General raised during Grand Montana. When we are saying to be well prepared, we went there with promises or with expectations that Turkey was to make the surprise to accept that we have to be, after the solution, at least an independent, sovereign state without interventions, without any dependencies by any third country.
So you feel you were disappointed or misled with going into talks with certain expectations, certain promises?
Yes.
Like what? What were you promised before you went into talks that you felt you were let down?
Well, I've said that if there is a progress in the internal aspects of the problem, then Turkey will make positive movements towards our own. Not only our own, but for every, country. What is looking is to be an independent state, and not a protectorate or not controlled.
Who made these promises that Turkey would make a more positive
It was
approach?
during the negotiations, the understanding that if we shall make progress, then we shall connect it with the security, which means termination of guarantees, replacement, if you want, of the old or the obsolete system of guarantees with another robust system, bearing in mind that Cyprus is a member state of the United Nations as well as a member state of the European Union, which, according to their charters, there are enough provisions to protect all the people. All the people, when I mean, either Greek or Turkish Cypriots.
When you talk about the old system of guarantees, let's call a spade a spade. Are we talking about the removal of Turkish troops, ultimately?
It's not only, it's the guarantees and the withdrawal of troops.
Do you see that there is any role whatsoever for Turkish troops to play in Cyprus after a reunification
I don't think
deal?
that we need any kind of troops, either Greek, British, or Turkish troops. This was our problem in the past with the Greek junta. This is the problem we are facing till today due to the intervention by Turkey. And I have explained to Mr. Çavuşoğlu that the distance between Cyprus and Turkey is just 60 kilometers. So who is there to do anything? And we have learned from our mistakes from the past. So nobody will touch. From the moment we...
What sort of mistakes, when you say we've learned from our mistakes in the past, what would you say you've learned from?
We have, immediately after the independence, the Greek Cypriots, they will continue to have in their mind the union with Greece, whilst the Turkish Cypriots, they were having in their mind the division of the island, the Taksim, as they were calling it at that time. And they have been encouraged, both communities, by the motherland countries.
Is a federal system still the starting point for negotiations?
Yes, this is the basis of the solution, actually.
Are you disheartened when you hear statements from some on the other side who talk about perhaps having to look outside of federalism, perhaps having to look at some other sort of solution?
I don't know what they have in their mind as plan B, but
there is no plan B from your perspective?
Our own, there is only one plan, plan A. And plan A means the reunification of the island, and the most important, to build up a viable, lasting solution, a functioning state, a modern state, a real European state. This is what we are looking. Without privileges to the one community or to the other. We are accepting, and we have accepted already, the political equality, but not the numerical equality. It is quite different.
Well, the other side say that what ultimately the Greek Cypriot side wants is for Turkish Cypriots to simply be some kind of underclass minority rather than equal partners in a unified state.
There are so many convergences who have already gave the answer to these concerns of the Turkish Cypriots. To the contrary, what we are watching is that they want to control the whole island. And this is their own mistake. For example, when they are saying effective participation. They are asking that for any decision of the central government, we should have at least one positive Turkish Cypriot vote. If you will find another system all over the world, in any other country, where the central government, in order to decide, they have to have a positive vote, let's take the example of Belgium, of Germany, of whatever. If you will find that the central government of Berlin, in order to decide, they have to have a positive vote from
some of the other communities, ethnic communities, right?
Or in Belgium, it will not work. But I have accepted. According to the rule, we have already agreed that the non-encroachment rule, that the central government will never intervene in the internal affairs of each one of the two constituent states. Neither one constituent state might intervene in the internal affairs of the central government or in the affairs of the other constituent state. And what I have put on the table is that I'm ready to accept your positive vote in case the central government will take a decision which might detriment the interest of your own community. In such a case, you will have the right. But in any case, we have to find an effective deadlock-solving machinery for the functioning of the state to be blocked by this positive vote. What they are asking, actually, is to have the right of veto on every and each one of the decisions the central government is called upon to take.
Let's talk a little bit about hydrocarbon exploration. You've invited foreign companies to come and explore for gas and natural resources in the Eastern Mediterranean. Wouldn't it make more sense, though, Mr. President, to start that kind of exploration once you've resolved all the conflict over this country so that all Cypriots can benefit?
Yeah, we have already reached convergence as regards the exploitation of the natural resources.
That's not what you understand when you listen to Mustafa Akinci or even to voices in Ankara. They say there is no agreement or convergence.
No, for God's sake. I mean, if they will use excuses in order to intervene in the sovereign rights of the Cyprus Republic, it's another thing. But we have made it clear, and I have made a lot of times.
But they say all these countries, there are a number of countries which have claims to this common area of water, and they say that this needs to be resolved first.
Who says so?
Well, if you listen to the statements coming from Turkey, if you...
From Turkey, yes, because Turkey is serving their own interest, not the interest of the Turkish Cypriots. Unfortunately, what Turkey is looking for is to become, and it's their absolute right to do so, or to looking for to become the energy hub of Europe. And this is what they are trying to.
So doesn't it make sense to reach some kind of...
Right. Let's say what we have agreed with our compatriots, and I have made a written statement in spite of the convergences, because there is a convergence already, and by which this convergence was providing that decisions with regard to the maritime areas, territorial sea, contiguous zone, continental shelf, and exclusive economic zone, as defined by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea of 1982, will constitute a federal competence in reunited Cyprus remains valid. I mean, this remain valid, and it has been confirmed.
But sir,
additionally,
the Northern Cypriot Foreign Minister, Kudret Özersay, only a few days ago, he characterized your activities as unilateral drilling. He says authorities in the north might start their own exploration and drilling in waters which they control if you don't stop, as they see it, unilateral exploration.
This is a threat.
So wouldn't it make sense to get over these threats and resolve the issue and then explore? How do you respond to that?
And for 4 years now, we are negotiating to find a solution. And the hydrocarbon issue has never been on the table because it has been agreed. And therefore, we took steps to prove that we mean business. And I have made a clear statement, not only because there is a convergence, but the natural resources are belonging to the state and to all legitimate people of Cyprus, either these are Greek or Turkish Cypriots. Bear in mind, exploration is one thing, exploitation is another thing. From exploring what we are doing, we are exploring within our own exclusive economic zone. If there is such a wealth, in order to, till the moment we will be able to exploit this wealth, it might take 5, 7, or 10 years. If there is a goodwill, within this time, we can easily find a solution for the Cyprus question. But in any case, even without a solution, we know how to protect not only the Greek but the Turkish Cypriots as well. But to put as a precondition that we have first, and why they raise it now, after 44 years, or after so many other explorations, why they are raising it now?
From their perspective, they say, they don't want basically what amounts to an IOU or a promissory note while the revenues are being...
It's not going to be so. Wow.
They would like all citizens of Cyprus to benefit from any wealth that has... that's a principle you agree on.
And we mean business. We are not the ones who is occupying the properties of the other community.
Of course, they don't see it that way, though, I'm sure, as you're aware. They have a different perspective.
The northern part, they think that it was always belonging to them. Don't forget that after the invasion, they are occupying the properties of the Greek Cypriots. And this is the behavior we have to count. Right. We have done anything against the Turkish Cypriots. We don't want to get advantage of what they are entitled to.
But that's precisely the point, Mr. President. They see that the unilateral exploration is targeting things which they are entitled to.
It's the legitimate government of the Republic of Cyprus, which is internationally recognized. They are always welcome to participate in the government.
On the issue of Exxon Mobil's exploration, have they begun their activities?
The explorations, the real drillings.
Well, let's call it any work in the Eastern Mediterranean.
During the next days, I understand. It's not going to be drillings.
Right.
Are going to be an investigation about the environment,
suitability
effects, suitability, and so on.
Has any of that started at this point?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I think within these days.
Within a few days. Yeah. Are you confident that they will be able to carry out their work that you have given them a concession to do?
I do hope so, that Turkey will refrain from any hostile act.
But are you confident they will be able to?
No, I'm not confident. I'm saying what I want to happen. If we want to build up a common future with our Turkish Cypriots, first and above all, Plot 10 has never been recognized by Turkey that is belonging to the Republic of Cyprus. They are saying that it was belonging to Egypt. And with an agreement with Egypt, Plot 10 is belonging, according to the international law, to the Cyprus Republic.
You're referring to your 2013 agreement with Egypt for...
Yes.
Right. Have you asked any US authorities to help ensure that Exxon will be able to carry out its activities?
It's, there are always deliberations with the governments, with the company. The company has its own program. They have to
But other than the company,
implement their obligations.
the US is a superpower. It has a very big navy. Parts of that
I
navy
don't
are in
want
the
to
Eastern Mediterranean.
involve military interventions by anybody, but it's up to the United States to protect their own interests.
But have you asked them at all? I mean, it would cross my mind if I was in your position. You have a company from a superpower, you have a superpower navy.
Be sure that we have done whatever it is necessary to be done in order to succeed to the energy program of the Republic.
I don't want to put you in a hard position, sir, but with all due respect, that sounds like a diplomatic way of giving the indication that that's a yes.
Always.
Let me put it this way. Have you received any assurances from US authorities that they will make sure Exxon can do the job?
No, we haven't asked such guarantees, and we haven't received such guarantees. It's the company who is doing whatever they thought appropriate in order to succeed in their program and their obligations according to the license they've got.
Even if you haven't asked the US side, do you have expectations from the US Navy that they will take measures?
My expectations is that Turkey, our compatriots, they will realize that the most important and the most urgent is to find a lasting, viable solution by which we shall have a functioning state. I'm repeating it a lot of times. This is the best way to find a solution as regards the hydrocarbons, which is included, of course, in the solution, because by solving the problem, all these are belonging, or are competences belonging to the central government. I do hope that we shall, Turkey will be benefited out of such a solution. We have no reason why not to sell to Turkey. We have no reason why not to be friends with Turkey. We want a friendly neighbor country and not a hostile. We are supporting the Turkish accession to Europe.
On that point, will you disrupt the or veto the upcoming meeting between
There is no
EU
veto.
officials and Turkey on the 26th of March in Bulgaria?
What has happened till now is that it will, during the European Council, they will evaluate the stand of Turkey. And then we shall decide. I mean, the European Council will decide if there are no violations or if they are refraining from illegal acts, and I mean illegal acts violating the international law.
Are you talking specifically about Turkish naval activities in the Eastern Mediterranean? Yes. So there is kind of a link. There is kind of like a threat hanging over them.
It is quite clear by a statement made by Mr. Tusk, the President of the European Council.
Right. How disruptive have the activities of the Turkish Navy been to your efforts to explore resources in the Eastern Mediterranean? Has it impacted your efforts? Has it shut it down?
No, it hasn't changed our energy program.
But Eni last month, the Italian firm, were not able to carry out the work.
They were not able due to the intervention by the Turkish Navy.
Does that not represent a problem? I mean, a minute ago you told me you can't say you're confident that Exxon is going to be able to carry out its work.
No, I haven't said so.
Well, just now
I was meaning the actions by Turkey.
Right.
But I do believe that it is not the same.
But if how do you say to investors, come and explore for resources if you're not 100% confident that they will be able to explore here for the sort of resources you're inviting them to?
Because we were believing that Turkey will never, they will refrain from acting as they are acting. I don't think that it is to the best interest either of the Turkish Cypriots or of Turkey as such. But we have the sovereign rights, and we are going to exercise them. And I do believe that Exxon will carry out the program as it has been planned.
Right now, from what I've been able to gather, sir, Turkey has a frigate, the Barbaros. It's got 3 corvette vessels or ships in regional waters. The US has the Iwo Jima. Russia has a nuclear-powered submarine in the area. The Israelis are conducting war games. The Americans are watching the Russians. The Russians are watching everybody else. Isn't the Eastern Mediterranean becoming far too tense and risky for commercial activity.
That's why we don't want to provoke. That's why we are trying to be quite cool and to see how, through the diplomatic challenge, channels, we can find a peaceful solution and to, of course, continuing to implement our energy program. We don't want to harm anybody or to affect the interest, especially of our compatriots, and I'm quite clear on that. It does not belong to the Greek Cypriots. It belongs to the people of Cyprus. And the people of Cyprus is consisting of the legitimate communities, legitimate residents. Either these are Greek or Turkish Cypriots.
Nikos Anastasiadis, President of the Republic of Cyprus, thank you so much for talking to Al Jazeera, sir.
Thank you very much.